All right, good afternoon for those that are joining us today. We're going to get started in just another minute to allow some time for everyone to log in. But happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us for Tool Time Tuesday today. I know it may be a rough day for some after the long weekend and it's rainy and yucky, at least where I am. Just another couple minutes, or not in minutes, a couple seconds because we only have a half hour. All right, we have a good number already logging in. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We are recording this for our YouTube channel. If anyone needs to leave early, we will have that recording on there. But I want to go ahead and get started. Happy Tuesday. My name is Andrea Young. I'm the communications lead for ECAC. And today we have with us Jacklyn Boheler, who is with TEACCH Autism Program and Project Coordinator for WorkTogether NC and Heals to Participation. And she's going to be talking today about their new employment toolkit that helps individuals with IDD and their support teams explore job options, get ready for work, and find inclusive employment opportunities in North Carolina. And their resources are always amazing. So I am looking forward to seeing all that this toolkit has. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jacklyn.
All right, thanks, Andrea. So I will just say that this toolkit is part of a much broader project called WorkTogether NC, which is focused on supporting the transition to and through adulthood for folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. So because we only have a half hour today, I'm just going to be solely walking you all through the toolkit that was recently released. But I just want to say I highly recommend looking through the rest of the website. We have a service library where you can search for services and programs near you based on the county that you live in. We also have action plans, which are like checklists step by step for how to navigate adult services, how to navigate the transition section of the IEP, or how to figure out housing options or transportation options, really all the key planning areas of adult life we have checklists for under that action plan tab. So again, it's worktogetherNC.com. But yeah, we'll go ahead and dive into the toolkit. So this toolkit was created to support individuals with IDD to explore their employment interests and hopefully find a job or improve their job that they're currently working. So just to give an intro or a primer of what inclusive employment is or what we mean by that, I'm going to play this video and then we will go into the toolkit and walk through the different components of it.
Everyone should have the opportunity to work in a job that they love. In North Carolina, some people with disabilities work in jobs that are separate from others without disabilities and make less money. However, new programs are available for individuals to succeed working in community-based jobs alongside others when they choose to do so. Today we'll talk about inclusive jobs, jobs where everyone, no matter their ability, has a chance to work and grow. Equity means giving everyone what they need to succeed. It's not about giving everyone the same thing. It's about giving each person what will help them do their best work. Sometimes jobs are made just for someone's unique skills. This is called customized employment. It means creating a job that fits what the person is able to do and what the workplace needs. With customized employment, everyone can find the right job for them. In inclusive workplaces, people with and without disabilities work as a team. No one is separated, and everyone has the chance to move up to higher-level roles. It also means the job pays everyone a similar amount of money if they are doing the same kind of work. Hiring people with disabilities is not just good for employees, it's also good for employers and the community. Businesses with employees with disabilities often see improved teamwork, more creativity, and employees who are happier with their jobs. Customers like to support business that provide opportunity for all. When businesses hire people with disabilities, it creates a more diverse and connected community for everyone. To help people succeed, employers can provide support. This might include things like special desks, screen readers, picture-based instructions, or communication tools like sign language interpreters or live captioning. These supports, called accommodations, make it possible for everyone to do their job well. It's not just about tools. It's about creating a workplace where everyone feels like they belong. Employers should also teach all employees about how to work together and support each other. Workplaces need to make sure everyone feels safe and treated with respect. This means not allowing bullying or unfair treatment of anyone, no matter their ability. Some people worry that working could make them lose important benefits, like health care or money from the government. But there are ways to keep your benefits while you work. It's helpful to talk to a counselor who can explain your options. Inclusive jobs are about more than just having a job. They help people feel valued and give them the chance to grow, contribute, and succeed. In North Carolina, we believe everyone should have the chance to work in a job of their choice that fits their skills and goals. For general information about North Carolina's efforts to increase inclusive job opportunities, visit the Inclusion Works website. For employment toolkits and action plans, check out WorkTogetherNC.com. For employment services, contact the North Carolina Division of Employment and Independence for People with Disabilities, EIPD. If interested in becoming an inclusive employer, contact EIPD about becoming an employer partner or get involved in WorkTogether, NC's IDD Inclusive Employment Alliance.
All right. So you'll notice that there's several different sections of this toolkit. We have this first section, which is really about getting to know the individual's support needs and strengths. And I'll say ideally with this toolkit, it is completed with support from a trusted adult. So that might be a teacher, that might be a counselor through EIPD or otherwise known as vocational rehabilitation. But ideally, the individual is doing this toolkit collaboratively with someone else supporting them. So again, this first section is about self-awareness. And you'll notice that a lot of these worksheets are very visual and really designed with accessibility in mind. So here the individual is identifying what their strengths and skills are, identifying what their workplace support needs are. And then here we go into the difference between formal supports, which you may need to request an accommodation for and disclose your disability, versus informal supports. These are supports that you may not need to disclose disability for because they may just be like really simple to implement and could actually be beneficial for all employees. And for finding accommodations that are very specific to either the job task or the disability or limitation, I highly recommend looking at the Job Accommodation Network, where you can search based on very specific criteria to get ideas for different workplace accommodations beyond what's in this toolkit. Then we move into identifying what the individual's learning style is, what their communication style is, whether they need assistance such as a communication aid, or whether English is their first language, or maybe they use AAC. And then at the end of each of these sets of worksheets, we have a portfolio sheet that summarizes in a concise way the information that was discovered on the previous sheets. And the reason that we did this is because we hope that this toolkit can be used to generate a portfolio about the individual that can be shared with either an employer or a job coach or an adult service provider, anyone that may need an in-depth understanding of the individual's support needs and work interests and other factors. So now we've gotten through this first section, we're going to move into what kinds of work am I interested in? So this is where we go into some job exploration, interest inventories, and looking at different types of work such as entrepreneurship. So here we're identifying the individual's work interests, and hopefully this will lead to a conversation around whether they want to incorporate their interests or hobbies into their paid work, or whether they like to keep those things as something they do in their free time, and maybe they just want a paycheck as their paid work and don't care as much about incorporating these hobbies. We also have a variety of interest profilers and work values and interest inventories that are linked here. Most of them are from nccareers.com, which is great. And then we have a job search template, and this is really intended to support the individual to make informed choices around what types of jobs are going to be a good fit for them. Of course, we often hear things like, I want to be an NBA player, or I want to be a famous actor or actress. And then, this will help hone in on, does being an NBA player match the amount of training that I would need to do, or education, or does being an actor or actress match what my work preferences are? Like, maybe I want to live locally, but those opportunities are mainly in Hollywood. Do I want to move to California? Like things like that, where we start to get realistic about what types of work are actually going to be a good fit. And then entrepreneurship can often be a good option for folks, especially those who may be limited to working from their home environment. Um, so we have a nice guide here linked from the NC Down Syndrome Society, but I'll say it's useful for all disabilities. That helps with the startup resources. And then again, at the end of each set of worksheets is that nice summary sheet that can be compiled into a binder, maybe with some sheet protectors, and created into a portfolio. Okay, next we move into who is going to help in the employment journey. So of course there's formal services such as the EIPD, formerly known as vocational rehabilitation. This is really the first stop to being able to access employment services. And the individual may eventually be passed on to another organization that's a supported employment provider. But typically you have to start through EIPD to become eligible for this pot of funding for supported employment. And this walks through how to get connected with EIPD, how to contact them based on what region you live in, as well as what to do if you are not getting a call back. You can call their kind of grievance network, which is the NC Client Assistance Program. The other thing to be aware of is that WorkTogether NC has an employment action plan, as I mentioned, which is that step-by-step checklist on how to navigate employment services and how to obtain employment and build work readiness skills. And we also have a alliance of IDD inclusive employers. So this is a network of employers that are trained in how to hire and support people with IDD, and they proudly display this sticker on their storefront. So we have about 45 employers now who are part of this alliance, and that's a great first stop for submitting applications to places that you know are going to be supportive and interested in retaining an inclusive workforce. And you can check out that full list of employers on WorkTogether NC's website. I will see if I can drop that link in the chat for you all. There we go. So if you scroll down on that page, you'll be able to see the full list of employers. And here is where the individual can map out who is going to support them in their employment journey. Maybe they have an organization that's supporting them. Maybe they have family members or neighbors who they're networking with or who are supporting in one way or another, maybe with transportation or introductions or job shadowing, things like that. Job coaches, here we're considering whether the individual will need a job coach, and whether they need a job coach just transitionally, so maybe for the first couple of shifts to help with training, or whether they're going to need a job coach all the time for every shift. And then again, here we have a nice summary sheet at the end where you can indicate your status with accessing EIPDU services as well as using WorkTogether NC's resources. Okay, next we're going into whether the individual will need more skills, education, and/or experience to reach their employment goals. So one of those options would be internships, and there are 3 main internship providers in North Carolina for folks with IDD. We have Project Search, which is offered at various hotels and hospitals and other venues across the state. And we also have EIPD offers internships and will actually pay the wages of internships, which is a great sell to an employer. Hey, want a free intern? So I highly recommend asking your EIPD counselor about this paid internship option. Because honestly, I feel like this is something that needs to be much more well known about than it is. So definitely let's hold the system accountable on this one. And then Linkit is another internship provider in North Carolina. This, I will say, is mainly focused on autistic individuals without intellectual disabilities. But if that does fit the profile of the individual you support, then Linkit is a great option. All right, and apprenticeships, I feel like are less talked about, but apprenticeships can be a great route for folks that are interested in trades type careers, anything such as in healthcare or agriculture, cybersecurity, construction, anything of that nature. And we have some links here on how to find apprenticeships on NC Works, as well as on NC Apprenticeships website. And then volunteering really should not be overlooked as a great way to build skills, serve as a resume builder, build the individual's network, and can sometimes be a starting point to obtaining employment. Maybe the employer really just needs to get to know the individual in a capacity that is low stakes like this, and then they can advance their way into a paid role. So we have Volunteer Match linked here. This is a great site for finding volunteer opportunities based on your county and based on the individual's interests. And then, of course, post-secondary education is a great pathway depending on the individual's goals for expanding their employment options. So we have a college toolkit, which I've done a Tool Time Tuesday on before, but is very similar to this toolkit, just focused on post-secondary education, both community colleges and inclusive post-secondary education colleges. It covers all of those options, so I definitely recommend checking that out. And then Think College has a great database of inclusive post-secondary education programs on their website. We've also linked NC Community Colleges, which has a great new initiative for students with disabilities called Access to Achievement. And then the College Foundation of North Carolina for assistance with paying for college. All right. Next, we have a section called It's Time to Get Serious. So this is where we're starting to think about all the many factors that go into deciding what type of work is a good fit for you, such as transportation. We know that this is one of the key barriers to employment for folks with IDD. So some folks will be limited in their scope for where they can work because perhaps they need to take paratransit, and usually paratransit will only serve that the county that the individual lives in and will not cross county lines. So these things are important to consider. Also, there's other options like public transit, depending on where you live, or having a ride from someone, but making sure that that ride is reliable, using taxi or Uber or Lyft services, or of course, some individuals with IDD do drive themselves or take specialized driver training to be able to be safe with that. Here we're looking at what length of shift would be a good fit for the individual and how many days a week they would like to work. And here we're looking at the person environment fit. So does the individual want to work inside or outside, in a calm environment or in a busy and loud environment? Mostly alone or mostly with other people, at home or in the community? Working more behind the scenes or in a customer facing role? Working the same hours every week or flexible hours? Similar tasks or changing it up and having a lot of variety in what they do? More of a slow-paced environment or a fast-paced environment? Sitting or being sedentary for most of the shift, or being active and moving for most of a shift? So these are all things that might not otherwise be considered if they're not explicitly laid out like this, and will hopefully lead to a more successful employment placement, really having done a lot of thought around what types of jobs are going to result in a satisfaction or being satisfied in the work that you do. And then we have a goal setting template here. This is really helpful for breaking down big dreams into goals and then further into specific action steps and then setting times for those action steps to occur. All right, so next we are almost done, and I do want to have a few minutes for questions. We are ready to work and we are ready to start applying for jobs at this point. So we have a variety of resume building tools as well as cover letter building tools here. All of these are templates that are really easy to use, and it's all pre-formatted for you, which is really nice. And we also have some tip sheets around, how to write a cover letter and how to make sure that a resume is well formatted. And then we have some job application information. So there's really two routes to take here. You can go the traditional route, which is applying through sites like LinkedIn or Indeed or NC Works, or if the candidate is open to disclosing their disability very early in the process, then they could apply through disability-specific job boards. So these are sites where employers are specifically looking into tapping into the disabled workforce, such as Ability Jobs and Disability Solutions. Then we have an interview preparation guide. So this walks through some of the most common interview questions and allows individuals to script out their answers and then practice those answers. And then finally, we have a section on benefits counseling, which was mentioned in that initial video, but there are a variety of options for accessing benefits counseling in North Carolina, including Service Source, EIPD, and Advocations. Okay. And then after getting a job, it's not over, right? So we have a first day on the job checklist, and this is really hopefully alleviating some of the executive functioning strain, but offers a checklist for things like making sure transportation is arranged, making sure that the work shifts are in the schedule, making sure that the alarm clock is set and that the accommodations needed are requested and that the uniform is ready to go. And then finally, we have a tip sheet on moving up or advancing in the workplace, assuming it is a good fit. All right, so that is WorkTogether NC's hot off the press employment toolkit, and I will link it in the chat for you all so that you have the direct link. But yeah, at this point, I am happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Jacklyn. I know we had no questions yet, but anyone feel free to put in any questions. We did have one comment. I work at Pfizer and they have an excellent program to support individuals with disabilities. is awesome.
We would love to get them certified as an IDD inclusive employer if you can help me get connected with them.
And we will be sending out this information afterwards along with Jacklyn's contact information. So Solange, who posted that, feel free to reach out to Jacklyn. That would be great.
Yeah.
While we wait to see if there's any other questions, I am going to launch a quick poll. If everyone can just quickly answer these questions. The grants that we work on require that we report back to them that what we're doing is useful, relevant, and of high quality. So I would love everyone to just take a couple seconds to answer these questions. Your feedback is very important. And again, we're happy to take any questions. I love these resources. It's so great to have everything in one place so you don't have to, search yourself. They've done the work. So it's amazing. I always learn something new or a new resource I'm going to use. So thank you so much, Jacklyn. This is
of course.
great. Any other questions from anyone? We'll give another minute for everyone to fill out the poll evaluation. I will mention while we're again waiting, next Tuesday is June. Our June Tool Time Tuesdays begin. That email with the sessions for June will be going out by the end of the week, but we will have on next Tuesday a self-care webinar, which I know this time can be crazy and busy, and the summer can also have a lot of stress to it. So please join us to learn a little bit about self-care and how to take care of yourself, because that is always so very important. We have another thank you for sharing this information. Great resources. Another, if you haven't filled out these questions, feel free to do that. I thank everyone for joining us on this rainy day. Hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday. And just make sure we have enough that completed our poll. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, it is just about 12:30. Give you 2 minutes back. Thank you again, Jacklyn, for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And I hope to see everyone again next week. So have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.